In this video of Decoding Scripture and Existence, number 22, we go into the Book of Enoch, Hanok, exposing the satanic cover-up, the only prophecy of the Messiah that was ever written, and the mark of Cain, the codes and meanings they are hiding. This one question I'm about to ask you, when answered correctly, exposes the lies of the Satanists. Yes, the Satanic Christian Church and the Jews, which you should have asked if you didn't blindly accept and blindly follow propaganda and lies. You see, the more you poke holes in their story, then the truth is revealed to you. But nobody does this because they are all sheep. And not the good kind of sheep, the bad kind of sheep that blindly follows evil. Where in the scriptures does it talk about a Messiah coming? There is a book, right? But it's not in any Bible. There is a scripture that they deny and reject. Where does the Christians and the Jews get the idea, right? Tell me, answer this question for me. Which book tells you a Messiah is coming? And no, I'm not talking about random little verses throughout the scriptures that are loosely prophesying the Messiah is coming. Where do you get the idea from? Where does the Christians get the idea from that a Messiah was prophesied to come? What book? Because it's not in a single book from Genesis to Revelation. Not in a single book, right? Saying a Messiah is coming. So where did they get the idea from that a Messiah was going to come? And where does the Jews get the idea from that a Jewish Messiah is going to come? They have to have gotten the idea from somewhere, right? There is a book. There's one book that actually prophesies a Messiah coming, but it's not in Genesis, it's not in the book of Kings, it's not in any book all the way through. So where are they getting the idea from? If you asked this question and you answered it, you would come to understanding the only book in history, the only one that prophesies the Messiah coming is so the Christians and the Jews who reject the Book of Enoch originally get the prophecy, the only one, from the Book of Enoch. So why do both of them reject the Book of Enoch? Obviously the Jews don't want to follow the Messiah, right? So they reject it. But why is the so-called religion of the Messiah rejecting the only book that prophesies the Messiah coming? It's because they're Satanists. They don't follow the Messiah. That's why they reject the Book of Enoch. So because you never stopped to think because you're a zombie, and you never stop to question the lies and the propaganda, where do they get the idea of a Messiah's coming? I can't find a single book in scripture. It's not in Genesis, it's not in Exodus, it's not in this, it's not in Kings, it's not in, and we get all the way up to the Messiah, and then a Messiah comes and people going, oh look, the Messiah that was prophesied to come. What book said a Messiah was coming? There's only one. There's only one. And the Christians reject it because they're Satanists and none of them follow the Messiah. None of them do what the Messiah says. They reject the Messiah and they teach you false propaganda that you unquestioningly, blindly follow. So they reject the only book in Scripture that prophesies our Mashiach, an anointed one, coming. Does that make logical sense to you? No. If you poke holes in the satanic story, then you get to the truth. if you blindly, unquestioningly just gobble up garbage without seeking correct logical answers, you are going to be led astray.
Hanok. And, interestingly enough, when they compared the Ethiopian text, which was the only text that was the oldest text of the book of Hanok, when they compared it to the Dead Sea Scroll fragments, what did they find? Word for word. We believe that that was sufficient enough to say that's enough of a corroborative record for us to be able to include it, especially when you have 56 references to Hanok in the New Testament, and you have a direct quote in the book of Jude and a direct reference in the book of 2 Peter. I mean, you have a quote. Actually, there's 2 quotes in the book of Jude. So if Enoch stinks and it needs to go, then so does Jude. The whole idea of talking about the elect, right? That passage in Luke during the Transfiguration. You read it in most English Bibles that says, "This is my son, hear him." But they leave out the Greek word that's sitting right there, and it's because it reads, "This is my son, the elect one, hear him." Where do we get this term elect? We get it from Hanok, talking about the elect, right?
Gospel of Matthew 24. And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. And there will be lots of false Mashiach and false prophets. So much so that if possible, they shall deceive the very elect. And the first epistle of Peter, the rock, Kepha, straight at the start, explaining the parable of the elect that stems from Hanok, that you are elect according to this, the finish of the elect parable. Talking about the elect stems from nowhere in Scripture other than Hanok, Enoch. So we have ironclad archaeological evidence that this is a legitimate and confirmed ancient scripture. 56 references just alone in the New Testament, let alone a ton more throughout all of the scriptures. The Messiah and Peter, the rock, that Yahusha is building his ecclesia upon, his called out assembly, both directly quoting Hanok, and the only scripture prophesying the Messiah's coming. So you tell me, is it a legitimate scripture? Ample evidence of the satanic cover-up. Now let us continue